set, start. All skulls on.
What's up, everybody? This is the Yak Man here, and today we're gonna be doing another episode of the All Skulls On podcast.
What are you doing? You're not the act
Go
man.
home.
I am the Yak.
You're an act fraud.
I'm
Trying to
acting
take over
like
this
I'm the Yak.
podcast while I'm taking a dump.
I don't know, to me, it kind of sounds like if you were to take Ackman and then like just smush him, like you just like put him in a trash compactor.
I think I have the superior
Midgify
acting
the Act
voice.
Man.
Hey guys, the
It's I'm like when I imitate my own voice, or when I'm imitating like Favyn or Masters imitating me, it's like
Basically, it turns out to where we just keep imitating the imitations and eventually just...
like it just devolves into like nonsense.
Like every time we enter an Xbox Live party, just first thing we both say is just...
Hey, well, what's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, giving the real intro for the All Skulls On podcast. And today,
Allegedly, the real act.
Secretly a shell. He went to 343.
This is the real one. Oh, yeah, I went there. But today, we're going to be talking about split screen and microtransactions.
Are we, though?
Oh my
The
God.
two least controversial subjects in the gaming space.
Yeah,
Ever.
That's gonna be split screen good, microtransactions bad.
Yeah, let's
We'll see you next time.
we'll have a nice dichotomy going. All right, so let's start with Ray. What do you think about split screen being allegedly added back into Halo and overall in the gaming industry?
Well, you see, that's the thing, is you say allegedly. Because from my understanding, I haven't really been digging too much into this, but from my understanding, Bonnie Ross said that split screen is going to come back into Halo. That doesn't immediately mean 4-player, split screen, multiplayer, online, across all modes, and all that type of stuff. Like, split screen
Something
can
I
mean
brought
a
up.
lot of different things.
Yeah.
It could mean, does that mean 2-player campaign? Does it mean 2-player online, offline? Does it mean 30-second frame rate? Does it mean full performance? Like, there are so many different things that could mean. Because the only other big, I mean, I think of something like if Halo split screen is going to be, like, let's say, the split screen in Black Ops 3 on console, then it's fucked, because that split screen is god awful. Because it's like low frame rate, it's inconsistent, it looks like an N64 game. If that's the case for Halo, then that's not going to. I feel like if that's going to be the case, then this buildup is just going to lead to a massive backlash all over again, which they probably are aware of, to be fair.
And I think people understand split screen not performing as well. Like that whole argument that split screen's bad because you can't get full performance out of the system. It's like, yo, well, no fucking shit. Obviously,
Well, yeah,
if we're
like-
choosing to play on half a screen in the first place, it's not going to be an optimal experience. That's such a cop-out answer. But
Well, like Perfect Dark, people were playing back in the day, and that game literally runs at like 8 frames per second on occasion.
Yeah.
When you got 4 people on a chaotic multiplayer
the thing
match.
is like we
bots.
understand it not performing the best it possibly can be, but it has to perform at a level to where it's even worth putting in the game, because if it's just completely busted and broken and unusable, then it might as well not be there, because it's just gonna.
Are we talking about the theater mode, or?
No, we're talking about split screen, bro.
Where did theater come from? You brought this up.
Yeah.
You started this subject.
Well, you said, well, if it's totally busted and not even being worth putting in the game. Did you guys use the Halo 5 theater?
We all
No.
use the Halo 5 theater, and everybody here is determined that Halo 5 doesn't even really have a theater mode, okay? It's not even worth attempting to use.
I've never used it, so therefore, by my logic, there is no theater mode.
And
in
even
Halo
when
5.
it doesn't glitch out or like completely bug out and completely unusable, it's still bad, like in terms of the quality of the visual experience. Like, it'll show you aiming in a completely different direction and still making contact, and then people think, oh my god.
it's like the first theater mode for Halo that doesn't actually save the theater files to your like console, like Halo 3 did on the Xbox 360 and stuff. Like, now it all pulls it from a server and stuff, so it's like wildly inconsistent.
It's bad.
Right. But
Anyway,
the
that was
comparison
a-
I was gonna make is, like you said, if it's so bad to the point where it's just not even worth putting in the game, then it's just going to create that backlash again. And I think there was sufficient backlash and fan reaction that they know, okay, split screen is something that we really got to put in the game. granted, we don't know too much about what their plans are. I mean, I honestly think like it's probably going to be 2-player split screen campaign and multiplayer. If I were to,
that won't surprise me either.
It
I'm not
won't
expecting
surprise me.
more. I also
No.
think there's just way too much going on in 3-4-3 style of Halo games. Like, it doesn't have that simplicity that the other games had. I don't know. I feel like because of the complexity of all of the things that play at the same time, splitting that up into 4 screens, I don't even know if that would be good.
But yeah, it's like I'm trying to recall though with Halo, like it's like I recall Halo 4 split screen having performance issues to the point of me not even wanting to touch it.
No, yeah, it was really bad.
I
Like,
don't
I remember
that,
the
honestly.
reticle size, even if it was cut in half, was the same size as if your screen was full. So it's just the aiming was completely off. Just crazy bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember like when I played Halo 4 and we used to do 3-player split screen that it actually wasn't that bad, at least from what I remember.
Forge is when it started to fuck up, if I recall correctly. Like a
bad.
Forge map.
Yeah,
that was
heavy
when,
Forge maps is when it really began to go crazy.
I remember it was me and 2 buddies. We played snipers on the Lockout remake that was made in Forge. And that alone,
I was thinking the
making us just
same
go,
example.
Yeah, and it was just we just went.
Unplayable.
This is really bad.
It's unplayable. It's like no joke, probably around 12 frames per second.
And I wonder if that's why they felt like not adding it into 5. It's like, well, nobody used it in Halo 4. It's because nobody could use it. It was it was horrible.
I think Favyn, the greater issue with that is again, Favyn and I, or Ray and I were talking about this prior to the recording, but
we're confiding against you.
But publishers basically only see numbers, right? So when they see split screen numbers are down and couch co-op numbers are down, maybe with Halo and the general market, that's a factor in that, and that could be because other games are shying away from that, and it could also be because Halo has been doing a shit job of creating a good split screen.
If there's one thing people need to understand by now, is that numbers do not tell all.
Exactly.
There are more than just numbers. I mean, look at our elections. All of the numbers said that there's no way this dude's gonna, and he's sitting.
You
in the
do it
office right
again.
now.
You get us back to the politics.
I'm just saying. We're gonna find out the general elections. They're rigged.
This is going to be a rolling.
Are we coming
ladies
back
and
to
gentlemen?
that?
This is going to be a rolling. This is going to be a rolling theme in the podcast.
No, like
it is
completely non-political at all. Like you don't even have to have any political opinion at all. Our numbers got the election wrong. They said something that were not true. There is an emotional...
my opinion is I think with Halo 5's development, I think that there are visibly a lot of things happened and went on, and there was quite a bit of disorganization when you look at on LinkedIn, the people that left during the game's development at weird times. Also just kind of seeing the product and seeing how basically we got a third of even Halo CE in terms of content, and even then the game still had a lot of optimization issues and a lot of weird bugs and a lack of polish. I think it came down to literally just a result of we are grossly behind schedule because of choices made that are now we are now feeling the effect of bad choices made long ago, and now, what do? Do we, just include split screen, but the entire game is a broken mess, or do we just, not include split screen and get the game out on time?
The other thing, too, you have to remember as well, is that when you're working with a big publisher, in this case, Microsoft, whenever you're making a decision in the game, in this case, whether or not to keep split screen, you have to actively convince them on the financial scale. Yeah. They don't care. You can't argue it makes the gameplay experience better, because that's all a variable to their minds. They don't care about that. So you have to argue with them financially. No, they don't play the games most of the time. So you have to argue with them financially. And financially speaking, the issue you have there is when they say, oh, well, because you'd say, okay, in order to get split screen to work properly to the point where it wouldn't just damage the experience, we need to delay the game by this time. And then they'd say, oh, well, if we go into this schedule, let's say February, that, we're not going to sell these and these many copies, so it's not worth it financially speaking. So no, we're not going to allow you to do this.
The problem is you can't put a monetary value on people's emotions and you can't put a monetary value on, I forgot the word I was going to say. Anyway, basically people's emotions. You can't factor any of those sorts of things. Reputation. That's what you can't put a monetary value on. There's a reason people, symbolize Microsoft with an M and a $sign. They think they're greedy. They have a reputation.
Well, shit. I mean, with the Xbox One, I mean, you guys remember like all that launch stuff and like trying to destroy used games. I mean, like that was like the turning point, for them as a developer, at least in their console market. I mean, that's when it was like, dude, you guys are like the third biggest company in the world, and now you want more, from your gamers, your consumers.
The thing about that situation as well is the fact, too, that Sony's conference was not that impressive in the same year. Like the PS4 reveal, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of people in the comments or whatever, but that conference, the PS4 revealed, their big players were Knack, Diablo 3, another Killzone, like all this really mundane stuff that no one really gives a shit about. So like all Microsoft had to do was virtually just not screw up, and they would have been either equal or ahead of Sony.
But they screwed up.
Yeah, but they basically, Sony's entire conference was just making Microsoft look like shit. Like, it's not even, we have awesome stuff. It's just like, hey, we're not going to screw you over like Microsoft.
Hey, we're not Microsoft.
Yeah.
But I think, literally all it was. We should talk about, like, split screen in the general gaming market. Because, I mean, we're all roughly the same age. And I think you guys probably had, like, a GameCube or an Xbox, Nintendo 64, some of those consoles. Mm-hmm. And, like, if I were to look at my shelf of games, like my library of games, like I have so many games I could play on my original Xbox or N64 that would just be fucking great to play with friends. Like Time Splitters is one, Star Wars Episode 3, like an actually good movie game. You got the Halo games, Republic Commando. There's so many games that, back then, and even on the 360, that were just ripe for split screen and play with your friends. And now, if I look at my library of games, it's like MCC.
Well, the weird thing too is that I mean one of us talked about this before, but the thing that's really odd today is most of those local co-op based games have now moved to the PC. When even as short as 10 years ago, it was the exact opposite case. PC used to never have local-based multiplayer games. You would usually have to either hack the game or use mods in the case of stuff like Unreal Tournament to get even one extra player in there for split screen stuff. Now, all of these party games, all these stuff like your Gang Beasts and even stuff like Rocket League and all that type of stuff, that's all moved now to the PC.
Well, I think it's because it's so much easier to connect it to a television nowadays.
Yeah, because you connect it to a television, four people can just bring their Xbox controller, plug it in, and keep going. Yeah. Whereas with the Xbox One, so you put the game in the disc tray, it has to download over the internet because now we can't just install through discs anymore. So you have to sit there and wait for the download. There's probably going to be a massive update that the network is not made for the audience. You then have to have 3 brand new Xbox One controllers, all of which cost $60 to $70 to fucking start. And then that's the case of if the split screen even works half decently.
And it's like the other funny thing is like I didn't list any Nintendo games in that list right there, but the Wii U, that was, I had Brawl and Mario Kart 8, but the problem with the Wii U is fucking nobody knows about it and nobody bought it. Nobody
it's just so ironic that they're like, oh, let's not do split screen because no one gets together and hangs out anymore. Meanwhile, just a few years earlier, the Wii just stomped on everybody's faces based solely on that family-oriented style of games. It's unbelievable that they don't think people do that anymore when the Wii just showed everybody that families want to get together and do stuff together.
I just want to quickly say they probably think that because the Natal and the Kinect and the PlayStation Move did not do. Shit. They're just like
nobody
the
wants
Kinect
to
didn't
play
do
that.
well, and the Move didn't do well. So obviously, people just aren't interested in casual games anymore.
That's because they tried to copy the Wii, and they were like, "Well, the Wii's just better."
No, Act Man. It's just because the market's no longer there. Now everyone wants really hardcore games. That's why THQ made all of those really hardcore games. And look at where. Anyway, next subject, Late Night, you were saying.
He's about to go on such a hardcore tangent.
Late Night wanted to say something on that.
I was gonna say, like, also something to keep in mind before we continue going is, like, there seems to also be this misconception, like, playing devil's advocate for a second, like, you can't just do split screen. Like, it's not that simple. Like, just split the screen in half. Like, no, like, there are so many, like, things that could go wrong.
Sure you have to render the game like twice.
What are you,
a
retard? You can't split the screen or something?
Just like, take a hacksaw to your television.
I can crop it in Premiere
Depending
Pro.
on the product, it can be like over a year of QA testing and optimizing just to make sure it doesn't like screw up everything. Just running the game in split screen.
Well, that ties into the thing we started talking about earlier, where the value. You know, if you just look at the numbers, it might not be worth it. But when you look at the value of doing these things for your consumers and doing these things for your fans that they want, even if you don't think it's going to get used a lot, it provides a good reputation. And that thing provides value and, you know, monetary influx in a variety of other ways. I mean,
this is a really good point, dude.
Playing devil's advocate one more time, all right? This is not an opinion that I share, by the way.
One more.
This is not the opinion that I
This
share.
is his
this
opinion.
is something that
Everyone
I've heard.
fucking flame him. Now.
Roast him in the
devil's
comments.
advocate coming to
All right, go.
So, you're bullying me. But, like, basically, like, I have heard the argument from developers and stuff on Twitter where they're like, well, yes, like, it definitely does improve, like, and it is pretty much like, yeah, why wouldn't you do split screen? Like, that's only a benefit to have more options for the players and stuff. Sometimes it's also like, would you rather include split screen when chances are it's not going to be used very much, or would you rather use the time and resources that we would have used to make sure split screen works to enhance the game and make it even bigger than it was before? Like, because if we include split screen, we're going to have to cut a lot of the things we had planned and locate sources over to just making sure split screen works.
It's just hard to rationalize that when Halo games have launched with split screen
with Halo,
and
no.
10 times more content than Halo 5 launched with. And Halo 5 also devoted a number of resources to a portion of the game that was based entirely on microtransactions and all of those sorts of things. So here's the thing. You have this game that who is going to buy an Xbox for Halo 5? Nobody. And the thing is you put split screen in, and you take the time and you say, yeah, you know what, I might make more money if I do microtransactions, but if I don't, I might be able to make a better game. And when you make a better game, or you make a really good game, it sells more systems, it increases your reputation, and we're looking at a time right now, at this very instance, where the Nintendo Switch is selling by the bucket loads because of the reputation of a single game. The Legend of Zelda, by itself, just based on its reputation for being a quality, really good experience, is selling consoles where it is literally the only thing available to play, unless you want to point a little controller at people.
Yeah,
how many people do you...
But there's really not anything big, you know? I'd like to make a point about split screen to go off of that, and you know, the whole, who bought an Xbox One for Halo 5, and I didn't. You know why I bought my Xbox One? Because I saw that I could be able to play Halo Combat Evolved on Xbox Live for the first time ever. And I thought, fucking hell, I'm going to invite all my buddies over to play that. That's why I bought an Xbox One and 4 controllers, all in a single purchase. That MCC sold me like $500.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people bought Xbox for Halo.
But it's not just that. It needs to be like an initiative, like Xbox games. Hey, Gears of War, it's going to have split screen. Halo, it's going to have split screen. Our Microsoft games are going to have split screen. So then it's not just, okay, well, the resources for an individual product. It's all of our products have this feature. And so that you, as a consumer, can buy an Xbox and know, like, hey, I'm going to be able to play these games with my friends. I'm going to be able to
make split screen a system sell.
And to go back to that, like, you can't put a dollar value on some of that stuff. And What's interesting is that got me thinking about Horizon Zero Dawn, and they have this cool feature that it's honestly blows my mind. It's just a way for you to take photographs, you know, because the game is so beautiful. I don't know if you guys have seen anything about it, but I've just been experimenting with that.
All Sony exclusives have that.
Yeah, but this one has like one built into the game where you can change the filters and stuff like that.
Same with,
it's crazy. It's
all
like
the other Sony exclusives.
They all pretty much. I mean, it might, but
I can right now.
But it's just like you can't put a dollar value on how, you know, how much your fans will like that and how, you know, how much it will make them like your game. Because
and here's the thing, you think, oh well, that's not worth the money to put into it. It's like, really? How many people have you seen on Twitter recently taking pictures of Horizon Zero Dawn and showing it off? It's free advertising to put a feature like that in.
I want to post pictures
in this
on
day
it.
and age, you need a game that can compress well. And what's happening a lot of the time is developers that are usually, in the case of Horizon Zero Dawn, most previous developers would take a graphics engine like that and they would try to place it on billboards, or they would try to place it in like quick TV spots and all that type of stuff that wouldn't really be able to show the game in motion or the landscapes, at least in a way that wouldn't allow players to express themselves. In this capacity, when you allow players to talk about the game in this way, not only does it achieve the same thing you would have done if you spent all those thousands of dollars on your fucking billboards, but also it allows players to express themselves in that same way.
Yep, it's like two birds with one
people
stone.
are going to naturally promote your game, as opposed to you slamming TV spots on like near the Super Bowl that people are going to watch for 10 seconds and forget about after they've had their booze.
I was going to say, with Horizon Zero Dawn, though, there is a big difference between split screen and basically a thing that was done because it's free advertising.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
split screen does not advertise itself because it's not like you can be like, look, I did this in split screen.
No, it totally advertises
hang on.
itself,
Wait,
because
wait.
when your buddies come over, what are you going to play? You're going to play the games with split screens. Every time you hang out with your buddy, you're showing them a game, and you have the ability to get them involved and play together. That's hugely important.
I'm thinking like a corporate suit right now. Like, basically, I'm
Yeah.
putting my
So
mind
you're thinking
in
like
them.
someone who doesn't think.
That's basically what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Like, what I'm saying is I'm trying to talk to you like the idiots over there, like, who decided Halo 5 didn't need split screen.
But you are onto something though, because the thing, Favyn, because you said earlier, because you said that split screen will make your game better. The thing is though, the suits, they don't hear that part. That part, it is a much. That's all they heard right there. There was nothing there.
Like a photo mode?
No, the part
we
that
share
they
that
would
on
hear-
social media.
Can they make ads for us with split screen?
If you guys and any of you guys in the audience watched my interview with Hardy LaBelle, like one of the most important things he said was I knew if I could add split screen and create this party fun game that you could play with your friends, that it would just create this incredibly powerful viral effect that people would want to get together and play the game. And that's how.
And he's completely right.
And you know
I'm sorry,
what?
I'm a business
I was-
person that only has sex with my cat and runs in my fucking house. I didn't hear that part. Friends, what are those? Are those people that I talk to around the table that give me shed loads of money? No, I don't know this party environment.
But one other point on that, and then we'll wrap this up and move on to microtransactions. But I was recently watching this Halo 3 launch video, about these guys, basically cataloging their experience with the Halo 3 launch. And they were talking to this guy, and the cameraman was like, "Are you excited for Halo 3? Are you excited for this game?" And he was like, "Well, I wasn't before, but now I am." It was like he wouldn't have cared if his friends didn't care,
Yeah.
But that's the power of viral effects.
Word of mouth is incredibly powerful. There are so many games on the Steam Marketplace that got around just because of it. Like Payday had no advertising campaign whatsoever when it first started out. It was purely word of mouth in Let's Players that got that game off the ground and had everyone buy its sequel.
Yeah, and same with like Nidhogg. Like if anybody's played the game Nidhogg, it's got local co-op, and it's also like a free PC indie game. Like I went to my buddy's house, he's like, "Hey, there's this new game that came out, let's play it." I'm like, "Okay." I sat down, he handed me a controller, we were both playing at the same time, It's not technically split screen because you're still on the same screen, but just the power of local co-op in general is so important to get your friends involved. There's no better way to experience a game or have them try something out. It sells so many consoles. There's so many people throughout my life that haven't even had an Xbox or whatever system I was playing on. We're like, "Hey, you got to come over and try this game." We sit down together, we play, we have a good time, we're laughing, we're joking. Then they go buy one so that we can play over Xbox Live or whatever. That's still a lot of value just attributed to a single session of a local co-op game.
You guys want to know something really, really funny? So back in the days when Xbox, PlayStation 2, and GameCube were popular, I lived in a neighborhood with a bunch of friends, and I used to make fun of the PlayStation 2 because it had two controllers. Like, You can't even play 4-player split screen co-op, you fucking plebeians. I don't care if you can play DVDs, you can't play 4 people. Like, I actually remember, I think on the PlayStation 1,
what is that, an iToy?
we were playing Worms Armageddon, and there was only 2 controllers, so we had to switch controllers every time, there was 4 of us, and I was just like, God, can I just have, like, my own controller? Like, is that possible?
I think they sold adapters eventually.
They did.
Yeah.
I remember using them for playing
Is
007
that
Nightfire.
external memory cards?
But anyways,
I was gonna say, like, I think this subject is not quite done yet because
he's not done. He's got more.
The problem with this is, here's the thing, like, the reason why I'm being so devil's advocate is because I agree with all of you guys, but the thing is, the video game industry, consumers have been burned time and time again by us, like, basically thinking about gamers, because we are gamers, but the gaming industry is not run by people who are gamers. So in order to get
Phil
what
Spencer
we want,
would disagree with you.
Yeah, Phil Spencer's kind of cool. But here's the thing is
hang on. Let me finish.
Okay.
Like,
Stop trying to bring politics into this.
In order to get what we want, we need to, like, word things in a way that they will understand, and we need to see if we can find some kind of basically we need to treat them like children. We know we're smarter than them. We know we're better than them, but we have to try to word it in a way that will bring them over to our side. And so a thing like split screen, I was going to say, well, it's not very smart to just say, like, you can't put a price tag on an experience. I mean, you can't, but to them, they'll just like, they're checking their bank.
We don't hear anything. Again, like, I can't hear you over my money right now from these microtransactions.
And so with Favyn, I actually liked what he said a little bit ago, because that's something they'll understand is, well, what if we turn it into this big thing? Like, it is our duty to ensure that all of our first-party titles are going to be split-screen, because we're thinking about the game and giving you more.
That's actually a really good idea.
That's a way to win them over to our side and convince them, hey, maybe put split-screen in Halo, a game known for split-screen.
Yeah, and make it a party.
Just a quick note,
and
then we'll move on. But Xbox.
We're
has
not done.
This Xbox Game Pass.
Eggman, we're still here. We're not going anywhere.
They have that Xbox Game Pass where you pay like $10 a month and you get access to a bunch of games. If those games have split screen, well, your buddy comes over and then says, hey, this is pretty good. I got to play it. You're paying for this membership. That's a really good idea. I mean, that would be cool if Microsoft started kind of going that route.
One controller. It's like, let's go. There's so many things this will do. The point is ever since the game industry started focusing more on making money and just assumed that we would keep providing them sales, basically they stopped trying to sell games based on how good they are and just sold games with the assumption that we'd buy them anyway, and then tried to make it so that those games had more opportunities to generate revenue. Ever since they started doing that, the game industry has started to go down and down and down, and now you hear things like, are we even going to have more consoles? Are we going to have this? What I'm saying is sometimes making the best game possible and playing off your reputation of making good games and just the quality of the experiences individually, that's what's going to make you the most money, because then more people are going to want to buy them, more people are going to buy the consoles that support them, and that to me, I mean, I could spend a lot of time going over.
We need to please the investors now.
Here's the thing. To deliver a counterpoint to that, here's the thing. I don't believe the statement of these publishers went from caring about making the games as good as possible to just making it about money. I think they always were about money right from the off. They were always the case. Old Nintendo games, the way that they worked, the reason they were super difficult and hard, despite their price tag, wasn't there as an artistic merit or anything like that. It was simply done there because that's what would get you money and get people to buy your game instead of someone else's. So they would buy your game and just play it over and over again instead.
You're totally right.
You're
totally right in that mode. And then
it's that every year that's gone by, companies just get better and better at making money, and it's getting to a point where that concept of making money is getting to the point where it is starting to actually have a dramatic effect on games now.
No, I mean, I'm not saying
that money was making on map packs and expansions and all that type of crap, and then they tried horse armor, and then they tried avatar stuff, and they tried microtransactions. They saw, hey, people are still buying into this, so we're not doing any wrong. Yeah. They're still buying it, so that means they want more of it, and then it just keeps going.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I'm not going to argue that they definitely, they artificially increase the difficulty of games so that you'd play them longer and whatnot, and artificially increase the time. Like, it's not like they didn't always have that, but it's gotten to the point now where they're sacrificing quality at a pretty
no one stopped them
significant
early.
level.
It's getting to a point where the snake is devouring its own tail, because you have situations like Titanfall 2 where they invest all this money into this game, they get all these top people to make it, and then they fuck it in both directions with 2 other products that are going to destroy it. All in the name of their quote-unquote...
Oh, yeah, because it's
yeah,
look at these games we're going to have investors, we're going to have a great
And they're
quarter.
doing it in the name of business. They're doing it in the name of, this is what's going to statistically give it the best chance of success. When it's like, no, even by the numbers that you're using, that is not the information you should be getting out of this. If there's anything you can take from business is the reasons, quote unquote, that they will for, guessing a game success, it's all bullshit. It's all just things they pull out of their ass. It's just, Titanfall's going to do pretty well here because, it's a fast-paced game like Call of Duty, and Call of Duty sells money, so therefore it's going to make money for us. No, that's not how it works. You can't just make something similar to your competition and expect it to get money. That's not how business works.
Anyways, I think we should move on to some of these questions.
We were naturally kind of moving into the microtransactions anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking there's some pretty good questions we got asked in the last video.
Do you want to talk? No, here's the thing. You could have there's a chance here for all you guys to call me a whore because I did just pay for microtransactions 2 weeks ago. You see, there you go. Yeah,
I've
right
paid
there.
for microtransactions before. I don't know. I feel like maybe we should leave that for another video. Let's
Ackman's fans turn against him.
Let's
dirty
tease
gamer
him.
confessions. Things
I don't buy microtransactions, guys. So if y'all need some real person to subscribe to, head on over to the Favyn channel.
Check out this guy,
the Favyn man. But I think this question actually ties into what we're talking about, and this comes from a Musashi Lee. Do you guys think arena first-person shooters will ever make a comeback on console? As the last successful arena FPS was Halo 3. I mean, that's debatable. It dies off and stays on PC only. Will Twitch shooters mainly dominate the console FPS market forever?
The thing is, I don't think arena shooters have ever been dominant on console, and I don't even consider really Halo to be a true arena shooter. It just had certain
Halo is the closest.
Yeah, it certainly is the closest in terms of it has even starts, map control type things. But in terms of how it moves and how it plays, it is nothing like an arena shooter.
2-weapon limit, slow gameplay.
It's not really an arena shooter.
Shields,
other than
to be fair, there were games like Republic Commando, Brute Force, Star Wars Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Academy that had those elements of just putting you.
Arena shooters.
Yeah, they're not arena shooters either.
They're not. They're not.
Where are you going with
this?
Those aren't arena shooters.
I mean, you guys played those games, right?
Yeah, they have those elements.
Jedi Academy.
But just like Halo, they're not arena shooters. They just have elements of arena shooters.
I mean, let's just assume when he says arena shooter, he basically just means even starts and map control-y type things.
Yeah.
If you were being total
that's what I'm talking about.
Just talking about Unreal and Quake and all
but
this shit.
but you guys, the
These
second,
are real
the second part of the
arena
question is about
shooters.
Twitch shooters mainly dominating. So,
yeah, but I wouldn't call Halo a Twitch shooter either. It's kind of like this
No.
weird hybrid. It almost sits in its own little plane of existence, which is what made it unique, by the way.
That's what makes it cool. I don't want it to be Quake. I don't want it to be any of those things.
I think Twitch shooters are always going to be popular no matter where they are, regardless of PC. Arena shooters don't do really well because of the degree of difficulty and the complexity of the mechanics. I mean,
They
there's
just
the
don't
market's
map to a
changed a lot,
gamepad.
too.
yeah, it's pretty
There's
tough.
that, and they just don't map to a gamepad very well.
Yeah.
They just don't. The gamepads are not made for games that are that fast.
and they
There's
require
a reason,
so much precise inputs. Like literally, like Quake and a lot of these arena shooters. By the way, a new arena shooter just came out yesterday called Reflex. That's really good.
That didn't just come out. That's been
No, it's been,
early
but
access
it came out like publicly.
Oh, it came out.
Final
Also,
version.
I've been playing.
Access.
Yes, everybody.
No,
I've been
it's like a
playing
full
that game for.
version
I've been playing that game for 2 years. Viewers, go out and buy it.
Yeah, but
it is awesome.
literally-
although asterisk, you can only buy it with your friends because if you go online, you will get raped up the ass
absolutely.
hard, and you will never want to touch it again.
Like I went into that, and I spent an hour with my buddy Delementary. Some of you may know who he is. Literally just learning how to jump farther than you could. Like, basically, when you jump and you turn at the same time, if you do it in a certain way, you can extend the length of your jump. And it's so crazy complex. And the thing is all those intricacies and all those complexities are so hard to market. Like, it's so rewarding and entertaining to do, but it's so hard to explain those types of things to an average consumer, and it's so hard to market those things and show them off. And that's why arena shooters, I'm not saying they can't be mainstream, but it's difficult, and I don't know if they've come up with a way to market them in an interesting way. As far as
there's a reason,
I think that makes
games
sense.
There's a reason in consoles, there's a reason that games like Call of Duty and Gears of War got pushed for those guns and sold a lot better, because those games are designed and mapped for gamepads a lot better than Unreal Tournament 3 was. Like, Unreal Tournament 3 sold like garbage on 360, meanwhile Gears of War sold like a ton, because one favors the gamepad a lot more than the other in terms of pacing, in terms of all that type of stuff. It's why so many games are stop and pop these days.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So this next question comes from an OP Raw, otherwise known as Oprah. Discuss how Warzone should be changed in Halo 6. Give your opinions on gameplay, maps, AI, and more.
Check out
what
my
a small
video.
topic.
Hey, I'm trying to do a plug here. Hey.
Possibly how Halo should take tips from Battlefield's Conquest mode with large maps, Spartan classes, and maybe a squad system called Fire Teams. What do you
It
guys
already
think?
has, though, hasn't it?
Not really.
It already has taken quite a... It already has taken
I think
a
even
bit of
Halo
influence from
forgot it
Battlefield.
has fire teams in Halo 5, to be honest.
Has fire teams? What is this?
What?
No, they don't.
I still don't think they do, but I don't play Warzone anyway, so I wouldn't know. Because you
It's
divided
like-
your game like no other, and I
It's
only
like
play
you
they
can
had
spawn
this
with your
weird
buddy.
marketing push for Warzone before the release, where they're like fire teams, it's all about fire teams. Like, they threw around that buzzword, and now it's like even they pretty much gave up, and now they're just talking about fire teams. Like, it's like, yeah, it's just another name for partying.
just
up
like their Spartan companies, also known as
clans.
the
Farming
Achilles
companies.
farming companies.
Yeah.
You know? Just like, does anybody use those for anything other than getting Achilles? I don't know. Maybe you're out there like, oh, I have a super active Spartan
Well,
company.
Act Man,
You
I remember
talk about how
you...
big our penises are.
I remember Act Man. I remember you pitching me the idea for Halo 6 of you have classes similar to like Reach and 4, but you make it so that there's a little bit of story, not a whole lot, but like tie them into events that happen, like in your case, the Pillar of Autumn being invaded.
Oh, yeah.
And make that a
this
multiplayer
was a fucking
map.
brilliant idea that just made me...
Oh, my
basically-
ideas are so good.
I'm so smart.
But like so I want you guys to picture, imagine, you've got Warzone in its current state, right? Now imagine if it took elements from Invasion and, from Halo Reach and Dominion from Halo 4. And to abbreviate this, imagine if you had Warzone maps rather than just being static, with, bosses come here and you capture 3 bases and all of them. Imagine if the objectives were different and it took inspiration from previous parts of the Halo games and used that as the setting. Kind of like how Reach used the Spire, which was a really cool set piece and map. I think we could all agree that was a pretty
I'm
great
pretty
map.
sure
No,
this is the thing that me and you talked about, Act Man, a long time ago. Remember when we were going to make that video?
Back.
Basically,
Yeah.
like the idea where each map has its own objective. You're not just capturing 3 bases. And
Capture
yeah,
the
like
thing.
I don't know if anyone's
So-
ever played World of Warcraft, but World of Warcraft has pretty cool PvP where like its battleground system where each battleground has its own objective. One, you're trying to capture this. The other, you're trying to hold points, and every time you hold a point or capture a point, you'll get an asset for your team. Or it's like each map is designed around a specific game mode, and I think that would be a really cool idea for Warzone.
Yeah.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen.
now,
Favyn wants to turn Halo into World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So I'll go off on this little tangent so I can tell you guys. So, aside from, not monetizing the gameplay, we'll just throw that out the window. But, imagine if like it's they bring back playable elites, which everyone would fucking love. And it's, it goes back to the sort of invasion play style of elites versus Spartans. You've got the Dominion aspects of maybe ordnance drops, or, ordnance drops would be relegated like just to this, not a main staple across the whole board.
You complete objectives in Warzone and you get an ordnance drop.
Yeah, you get to call something in.
Like a shit ton of Spartan lasers for the team.
Yeah, or even like AI allies. Like, so let's say, one of the maps is on the Pillar of Autumn, and it replicates the boarding parties. So, if you're on the elite side, you start off in one of those pods boarding into the Pillar of Autumn, and you can replicate the map based on the architecture that's already there, but make it applicable for this mode. Like, imagine aerial battles, vehicle battles in that big hangar at the end of the mall. Like, imagine how fucking awesome that would be. And you're like fighting over these objectives, and it's like, it has that.
Whoop.
Yeah, I'm here. It has that invasion progression of, you capture a base and then the next part opens up. So, it's like, imagine if you're on the Pillar of Autumn and the end goal is to steal Cortana from the bridge and kill Captain Keyes. Like, here's another example. Imagine if, you're the humans assaulting the control room at the end of Halo 2. Imagine if you're doing that and the Covenant get like a scarab that they get to fight from, or you guys get a scarab. Imagine,
but
just
that
imagine
would
those
highlight
dynamics.
that their art style looks different than ours.
I can just imagine all the lore people getting like just ranting about this version of the mode for hours. Just like there weren't that many Spartans on Earth during the Covenant invasion.
Multiplayer isn't canon, people. It's not, okay?
But 343 says so.
I like the idea of having each map playing out as its own specific scenario, but then still having those maps open to Forge and whatnot. Like, what if you want to have that big open play space and then turn it into like a Hunger Games game mode where you're roaming around and you're surviving and you've hidden a bunch
Why
of
the
crap.
fuck not?
Yeah, just like exactly. Why not? It's like, why not have those spaces open?
We were playing MCC the other day, and we played Race on Death Island, and that was a PC map. But it's like, that's just the silent cartographer. Like, it's just the, and it works so well for multiplayer.
I will say this, shameless plug. I have a video called "Building a Better Halo: Redefining the Warzone and Rec System of the Game." So if anybody wants to see my opinions on all of that stuff, should check that out.
It's totally not gay.
It's not gay at all.
I was gonna say I agree with you, but then to be like the devil's advocate.
Again?
Well, hang on.
Going for the platinum trophy on Devil's Advocate.
It's important to also think like objectively, where it's like you've got to remember how they are seeing it as well. Like, obviously, if we were put in the position, we'd make all the right decisions.
Yes, exactly. We would do no wrong. We would never go over budget. We would never piss off the investors. Everything would be flawless.
Think about like, okay, you have your art style for Halo 5, let's say. And then people are like, well, why don't you make the Pillar of Autumn and like da-da-da-da-da and make a scarab on the Pillar of Autumn? And it's like, that's all super awesome. But that would require us, because here's the thing, that's the old art style. We would need to, for one map only, construct all new assets, everything. Like, spend all this time on something that will be used on a single map and then dedicate a lot of time to creating this complex scarab.
But imagine promoting that map. Like, imagine, like the Return of Invasion, playable elites, and then you show a cutscene of this huge fucking battle in the Pillar of Autumn's hangar. Like, is there a legendary edition for that? Because I'll drop $1,000 right now. I'll drop 1,000. I'll leave a tip on the table.
1,000 going once. I'll be up 12,000. $12,000.
I'll take 12,000. I mean, you give me that experience, I'll pay up the ass.
But no, late night's right.
I do understand his point. Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense.
We're sitting here in a podcast and we're getting ahead of ourselves and we're just throwing ideas at the wall. Just because wouldn't it be cool? Like we understand that in an actual scenario, you have to make smart decisions. You have to reuse the resources that you have, or not reuse them, but allocate your resources the best you possibly can. We understand that game design is more than just having cool ideas. It's about implementing them in smart ways.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I thought so. I mean, is it just about having cool ideas?
My friend
just give me $60 million right now, and I will make the best Halo game ever.
Let me tell you, my ideas are
how
so
hard
good.
Can it be?
To be fair, we probably would be able to.
I mean, I think we'd be able to do. I don't know. like,
I mean, what we could do is find people who can make it for us and pay them a lot of money.
And we can take the credit for it.
Wait.
Yeah.
So imagine that final battle in Halo 2. What if we just added 12 scarabs? I mean, genius.
frame rate
But
be
the
damned.
engine can't possibly handle that many scarabs. Make it so. I don't
Make it
care.
so.
It's
but I
gonna
think
take
what it
$10 million
boils
to
down to
have that many scarabs for just that one part of the game.
Fucking spend it.
Spend it.
I think what
We'll
it boils
destroy
down
Microsoft to make this
for-
the best.
Hold on, let me call Phil real quick. Hey, Phil. Yeah, we want 12 scarabs. It's gonna take $10 million. Oh, okay. Cool.
It's gonna happen. But to
Phil, we
wrap
know
up
how to
this
save
question,
Halo. We need $10 million.
I think what it boils down to is basically, the big thing is to not monetize the gameplay. Because that just fucks up so many things. That's the big thing.
Can I be the first one to say I wouldn't give a shit if they monetize cosmetics? Like
I
I
wouldn't.
personally
would.
don't like.
I'd care.
Like here's the thing. It is not beneficial to the experience. Don't get me wrong. But me personally, as a player, I do not care.
Well, you and
The
talked
way
about
I would
that,
do
Favyn.
cosmetics is I'd have them represent an in-game accomplishment. So it's not just what
Yeah.
I look like; it's what have I done. And then you basically wear your accomplishments, and then everybody can see them. Like to
And then
me,
you
because
can
that's the
providing
biggest-
worth
variant.
in
That's the biggest problem with an RNG system is it makes every single thing you unlock have the exact same journey behind it.
exactly.
How did you unlock the ultra rare helmets? I opened a fucking crate. Oh boy, that's an interesting story.
Oh,
I'm going to be
man.
telling my friends about this. Oh, the intense moments I had opening this fucking crate. The way I spent money on it.
It's like, how long did it take? Like 30 hours. Wow. It's like, okay, well, how long did this one take? 1 hour. Wow.
Created
it's like,
raid on Apex 7 8 times.
yeah. But also one thing to take into consideration is Halo 5 should have had loadouts for Warzone. I don't know why they really didn't. To cut out the middleman for when you go to the rec system and there's 52 battle rifles. It's like that sort of
money.
quality of life
Give us
where
money.
you feel
Lots of
like you're
money.
going into
Can
an
we just
experience.
all admit that the UI was absolute trash in Halo 5? Okay.
I don't think you need to
That's-
admit.
that's
I
how
think
I got
it's just-
started,
it is
bro. That's how I
bad.
got
Yeah,
started.
that's literally you're
Flat
famous because you shat on the
JPEG that
UI.
they found
Yeah.
online of the Infinity, and they were just like, let's put that there, then let's use Microsoft Paint. And let's see, it says it says Arena. Sorry, it doesn't say matchmaking anymore, like Halo, classic Halo.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ackman. I absolutely love having to pick my one model out of 12 battle rifles every single time I play Warzone.
Don't you
I
mean
like when
32
the menu
battle
hitches
rifles?
up.
Yes.
I love how there's 300 armor variants and there's really only 20 distinct pieces of armor. That's my favorite part.
But anyways, we'll answer one more question, then we'll riggedy wrap this up because people say that. I say that. So this comes from DeclarinJam. That's cool. My question is about Halo, obviously. How and what would you do to improve the Prometheans, except removing them? Oh, looking at you, smart guys. What do you think, Late Night?
Well, oh God, where to begin?
I don't think here's the thing. I don't think it's a question of where do we start, but where do we stop?
Hey, guess what? I think removing them actually is the right thing to do. I don't think they provide anything interesting gameplay-wise at all. I don't think any of their weaponry is interesting. I think
wouldn't
a
go that
completely
far.
new faction would be better for Halo. I don't. I just
Am I completely crazy for still thinking that the Flood are the worst enemy to ever be in a Halo?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
no, the Flood
Yes,
were
you
ass
are.
until Halo 3. They
No.
weren't fun to fight.
They were
No.
kind of ass in Halo 3 as well. I mean, just personally,
They were kinda
Halo
ass
3 is my
too in
favorite
Halo
game of
3.
all time.
The
I mean,
Flood
They're
are
slightly
gathering
better
bodies.
ass.
What are you
they're
talking
less
about?
flat
I mean,
than
I
ass.
like some forms of ass, but not
Hang on.
this form of ass.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
asses are great and all,
Asses
but hang
are
on.
great.
So when it comes to the Prometheans, something I also think number one, I would start with the visuals of it. We shoot them and then they explode like a fairy or whatever. Stop. Stop.
You mean the
it's not
disintegration?
impressive, okay?
It reminds me of that.
What you need to do is,
Tron.
you have to give the player a visual reward for how well they're performing. So when you kill the thing, make it explode and fall apart like a sentinel, but if you can land a headshot, then it will explode like a fairy or whatever.
The
that
thing
way
is
the
they
player
put
has
so much stock in the exploding like a fairy, and that's the problem. If you watch their old interviews for Halo 4, you know, when we were designing the Prometheans, we really started to come together. They exploded like a fairy, and then we thought, this is cool, this is interesting. I'm like, how? It's completely non-gameplay related. It is
very
aesthetic only.
I feel like the mistake they made there is that because they like the effects so much, they wanted it to be shown off as consistently as possible. Like, oh, look how beautiful the graphics are. But as Late Night says, when you make it so that no matter what you do, no matter whether you're shooting them in the head or the fucking toe, it explodes like a fairy.
Yeah. I think one of the big things is like, to remove the cheap ass bullshit. Like when an enemy can just teleport and teleport away, and there's no interesting gimmick behind that. It's just like, whoop, you're damaging me, I'm gone.
To be fair, we're talking about what not to do. We're not listing improvements.
Right? Well, I mean, they had a cool ideas. Their idea that they would all work together and synergize in certain ways was cool. Like the fact that the Watcher would come out of the night, and then the Watcher could catch grenades and throw it back at you, or it could provide shieldings. It's like, okay, that's cool how they all have synergies with each other. It was never expanded on ever. And then when Halo 5 comes out, they make the soldiers, and they're just another form of fodder. Their existence is literally they have no reason to exist.
Even in Halo 4, like the crawlers weren't really interesting, but like they would crawl around. Like it added a vertical ground unit, which was actually really cool.
Because everybody liked it when the drones did it.
Well, yeah. I mean, drones worked well, but these would like crawl on walls and all that. But then in Halo 5, it's like
drones are the bad kind of ass too.
Not really.
The male ass. That's
drones,
what drones
it's like,
are.
okay, everyone stop and aim at the sky and fire for like 30 seconds or whatever. Okay, now they're gone. Now we can continue going.
Then in Halo 5, the crawlers were just relegated to fodder. So it was, you got crawlers are ground units, soldiers are ground units, wardens are ground unit, knights are ground units, and the only thing that isn't that is the Watcher, which is like middle of the air.
I will never forget that one part of Meridian where it's just a flat fucking room with like 90 of them, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. I made a point to show that in the video. Like, this is literally a flat canvas where they're just spawning enemies onto. I think to start at a place that isn't just how they suck, I think a good place to start is the thing that I thought I listed as the issue is only the Promethean Knights, they're the only ones that use all three of the main mechanics in Halo. Where they shoot, they throw grenades, they do all that, they melee and all that type of stuff. Those are the only enemies that do that. The crawlers you can't really effectively kill with grenades unless they stand still. Yeah, I guess in Halo 5. I'm more thinking Halo 4, I guess. Gotcha. But like in 4, the issue was it was only the Knights. The crawlers, you can't really throw grenades at them because they just dash away. The Watchers, you can't throw grenades at them because they just catch them and throw them back at you. You can't really melee them either because they spend most of their time in the sky. I did see a clip of someone assassinating one, which was pretty cool. But for the most part, you just run, you fall into a routine with them. Because like with the Covenant, with a grunt, you can kill that grunt in any number of ways. Whereas with the crawler, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to shoot it in the head.
Yeah.
And that's all you do throughout the course of the game.
So it all boils down to making the gameplay more unique and, avoiding the redundancies of always having them disintegrate, because sometimes it's interesting to just see a ragdoll effect because it's something different,
Yeah, it's like if you want to make them interesting, make them do interesting things.
I was going to say, something I also think that's a problem, that I definitely think the problem with the Prometheans, even now, are almost aftershocks of the decision made when designing the Knight, is like, the Knight can teleport when he can regenerate his shield, so he can bring his health back to normal. Why does he need a Watcher? He can also use a melee if you get too close. He can jump across the room and kill you instantly with his melee attack. So, like, sometimes even if he doesn't even have the incineration cannon, he'll just launch incineration cannon shots at you. Like, the problem is he is like a multi-purpose tool. He can do like literally everything.
He can snipe as a sniper jackal. He can melee like a hunter.
Imagine
he can shoot you like a fuel
miner,
rod gun.
But you'll never be better than Commander Shepard.
Imagine if an elite miner could do everything. He had an energy sword. He had all the different grenades. He had all the different Covenant weapons. Like, no, you've got to limit them a little bit so that it's like, this is the Knight that only has a blade, so he's only melee focused. Like,
well, that's the thing. You have two Prometheans. You have the Crawlers and the Watchers who only do one thing, and then you've got another enemy, like you said, that does everything.
Yeah, what the fuck's the Watcher gonna do? The Knight can take care of himself. Like, so with the Watcher in Halo Halo 4, they overcompensated for how like the Knight just doesn't fucking need anybody. So the Watcher was annoying in how it overcompensated for being useless in taking.
And then it
care
also
of a
brings the
unit
issue
that
like,
didn't need
why
it.
wouldn't you shoot the Watcher first? What logical gameplay reason is there for not shooting it first? It can literally revive the most dangerous enemy in the game. Why, if you are not shooting it first, you are actively, the only reason you wouldn't do that is either you're just starting the game,
or you're retarded.
or you're just challenging
And when the
yourself.
decision-making
Or you're
process
retarded, I
is
guess.
that obvious, it adds absolutely no depth, because it's like, well, I just shoot that first. If there's no decision-making, there's no point.
That's why Doom works
Oh my gosh,
so well.
Doom is
with
a
its
great
classes.
example of how to design enemies, because each one you take on in a different way, and they do different things. And I think they initially, the Doom enemies and the Prometheans both had a similar design philosophy of them playing like chess pieces and behaving like chess pieces. I think Masters told me that was the original design for Halo 4, but I'm not sure. I remember hearing
Well,
that.
It is. They talked about it at GDC.
That's why
like
they're
that,
called
yeah.
Knights.
Yeah.
They're the leftover from when
Yeah,
the Knight
and
was the Knight
crawlers.
piece.
I mean, come on, chess.
Yeah. But anyways, I think that's gonna about wrap it up for this podcast. Any final thoughts?
Subscribe. I need subscribers.
Subscribe to the Eggman.
Not you.
Check out my content.
All right,
Yeah,
and if you
might,
guys,
if you've got time, if you got like like multiple hours to spare, feel free to watch.
yeah, and if you guys want to leave your questions, comments, anything you want us to answer in the next podcast, feel free to do so in the comments below. Give us your feedback, your thoughts. Subscribe to me and only me, like the videos, and we'll see you next time.
Mouth breather.